Lompoc was a small community in the early 1960s. The local newspaper was only published 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The Santa Barbara News Press published daily. These publications were the sources of our information about the developments in this case. On June 6, 1963, the Santa Barbara News Press published a photo of the shack in their initial article about the deaths. It's a crime scene photo, and you can see the picture, the door on the left and the window on the right. It's the only photograph I know of existing of the shack that's not in police custody. I'll quote information from those editions, but recall that newspapers often have incorrect information. We know that some of this information is incorrect. The headlines on June 6 of the Lompoc paper was, "Boy and Girl Slain on Beach, Bullet-Ridden Bodies Found Near Gaviota." Their high school senior yearbook photos were shown there. The article started 2 weeks of regular coverage of the murders. The sheriff of Santa Barbara County at the time was James Webster. He was working a murder from the day before Bobby and Linda's killings. 63-year-old Vern Smith was murdered by 3 young men on June 3rd. 2 men were captured and reported that a third man, reported to be 17 or 18 years of age, named Sandy, had actually stabbed Mr. Smith to death on Miguelito Canyon Road, 2½ miles south of the city of Lompoc, about 30 miles drive away from Bobby and Linda's murder scene. The sheriff was looking for Sandy and had not ruled him out as a suspect in Bobby and Linda's murders. They were also looking for another 17-year-old young man by the name of Richard Bell, who had stolen a .22 caliber pistol, fled to Sacramento, California, and told lies about taking the gun when he left Lompoc. He was eventually ruled out as a suspect. On June 10, 1963, the sheriff reported, quote, "Upwards of 40 persons in the Lompoc area have been questioned so far regarding the slayings," unquote. He reported that 4 detectives were working on the case. On June 10th, the sheriff is reported to have said that Bobby was shot 11 times and that Linda was shot 8 times. Detective Baker later reported that she was shot 9 times. Sheriff Webster also reported in 1963, according to the Lompoc record, that Linda's body was nude and that a towel was wrapped around her face. Again, Detective Baker recorded that her one-piece swimsuit was cut down the front on both sides of her body. The 1963 paper reported that Bobby was wearing, quote, cut-off surfer shorts, which were very popular at the time. The 1963 paper reported that Bobby's lip was swollen, which led the sheriff to be quoted that a fight may have occurred prior to the shooting, unquote. Another quote by the sheriff was, "The killer or killers apparently tried to set fire to the lean-to." A blanket over the front of the lean-to was found partially burned. Burned matches were found scattered about. According to the paper, shell casings from a .22 caliber weapon were found near the creek bed. The Santa Barbara News Press reported that a witness at the scene saw that Linda had been shot at least 1 time in the leg. On June 12, 1963, the Santa Barbara News Press, and later in the Lompoc record, the sheriff announced that the ammo became the focus of the investigation. The sheriff said it was Western Super X .22 caliber long rifle shells, lot number TL21. He did not mention the brand, Winchester, as did Detective Baker later. A Sandy was being sought. Other individuals had been evaluated and cleared. A Clyde, who was an ex-serviceman and who was believed to have constructed the shack and lived there, was being sought by the department. On June 13, 1963, the Lompoc record offered a $1,000 reward, and I quote, "for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the cruel, inhumane deaths that have crushed the spirit of decent citizens," unquote. Also on June 13th, the Lompoc record printed the drawing of Sandy, who was listed as being 17 or 18 years of age. He was noted as being 5 foot 8 inches tall and about 150 pounds in weight. He had blonde hair combed like a surfer, with black frame glasses, with a prescription for nearsightedness. He was noted to wear size 31-inch trousers and to wear them low on his hips. He was supposed to be smoking Pall-Mall cigarettes. The quality of this picture is poor. On Monday, June 16th, the sheriff announced that the bullets again were the focus of the investigation. There were boxes filled with bullets. left at the crime scene, and they were believed to have been purchased at Vandenberg Air Force Base just north of Lompoc. He reported that the base was the only place that sold that lot number locally, but the price stickers typically found from the base exchange were not on the boxes. That may have meant that they came from something known as a battle pack. A battle pack, or a brick, was a large quantity of bullets located in one package. The Office of Special Investigation at the Air Force Base had joined the investigation. The sheriff also announced that the ballistic evidence determined that only one weapon was used in the double homicide. Finally, on that day, he announced that he sent 2 detectives to Santa Ana, California, to interview a subject thought to be Sandy. On June 19, 1963, the paper reported that a sniper was reported in the area near the murders before Bobby and Linda were killed. On June 2, 1963, several teenagers reported a sniper fired several shots at them while surfing south of Gaviota Beach, which is north of the murder scene. They did not see the shooter. There's a large place where people pull off the highway north of the murder scene and south of the state park where this may have happened. You saw it in the film earlier. It provides access to the beach. The sheriff noted another report of shots fired at Tahigas Beach, a few miles south of the murder scene during the same time period. 3 teenagers reported these shots but did not see the shooter. This incident took place at daybreak. He also announced a second location that sold the same ammo lot numbers in question in the month of April 1963. It was a store in Santa Barbara. Sandy has not been found as of that date and has never been found to my knowledge. The Santa Barbara News Press reported that 2 men were in the shack shortly before the murders and reported having 2 gunshots fired at them from the railroad tracks. No additional information was found in the paper for some time. The regular flower festival started in the Lompoc Valley shortly after that point, and the focus of the paper changed. The next year, Sheriff Webster identified a possible suspect following the death of a newly wedded teenage couple in San Diego, California. John and Joyce Swindle were 19 and shot numerous times while walking along the beach there. The killer used a .22 caliber rifle and perched on a crag above the beach. He first wounded them and then peppered their bodies with bullets. This information is from the San Francisco Chronicle newspaper article dated February 8, 1964. The Los Angeles Times on the same day reported the Santa Barbara County Sheriff is associating this crime with the death of Bobby and Linda. A beachcomber, who is described as 6 feet tall and about 160 pounds, was suspected. He was believed to have built the shack at Bobby and Linda's murder scene and lived there in isolation for years. Ballistic tests proved the couples were not killed by the same weapon. Reportedly, the individual was later identified as one George Gill and cleared of Bobby and Linda's murder. I do not have confirmation of that fact. In 1970, the case was assigned to Detective William Baker in the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department. He reported that he was not able to spend much time on the case until 1972. He worked the open, unsolved case until he retired in 1991. You can find his detailed report of the case in the archived message board at zodiackiller.com. This photo is courtesy of zodiackiller.com and shows Detective Baker and the sheriff at the time making a 1972 press announcement about the murder case of Bobby and Linda. On the message board at zodiackiller.com, Detective Baker only gives non-classified information to the public. Law enforcement often keeps information classified so they can have that information to question potential subjects as they become known and for other reasons.